day everyone. So we'll start of day 7 of this Pacific crossing. So as you can see, I'm still hand steering, and I've done that 17 hours straight yesterday and the day before, and sometime the day before that. So today's going to be another long day of driving the boat. I've done 109 or 110 miles yesterday, so that seems to be what's going to be the average for this trip, as long as the wind is good. Of course, if the wind condition goes bad or the angle's not good or it goes lighter, I'll probably won't be able to maintain 110 miles per day. We'll see. Normally this boat does 150 miles per day under autopilot easy. When I have like an autopilot that works and I'm able to manage my sail more effectively. Like right now, I can't use, when it's light, I can't use my code 0. So there's all these kinds of things. So today I thought, like, there's a lot of people that are asking me questions in the comment section of YouTube and Facebook. So I'll try to answer those questions that I got. Like I marked them down. A friend of mine actually made a list of these questions. So the first thing that I want to address is a lot of people are talking to me about mechanical autopilots. So, and why I don't have one, or why I'm not using one, or why I'm not trying to make one, or that kind of stuff. So I'll give you kind of my perspective on it. You know, that those monitors or wind vane, or there's another one that's called Cape Horn. All of these are super good kit to have on an offshore boat. It's really, if your boat is set up in a way that you can use those things, you should have one. I wouldn't be in this kind of a pickle if I had one on board. The reason why I don't have one is, you see behind me my DAFIT system. Above here is my Bimini. On the DAFIT system, I got my solar panels. The dinghy's hanging off the back. You see my mountain bike is in the dinghy here. Where I'm sitting right now, that transom from Bavaria, where I'm sitting, is folding down. So all of the back of the boat is folding down there, and that's super nice to have when I'm parked and anchor out in a bay, or I'm taking people in or out, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to sacrifice that for my boat, and I feel like however I try to install one of those wind vane or monitor or that kind of stuff, I'd be sacrificing all these goodies that are on the boat and that are part of this boat's experience. So I've been pursuing another option, which was to have two full set, like one autopilot that was installed, and then at least have all the spare parts of that autopilot on board. Like that's kind of my plan. That's what I want to do. I just was not able to afford it this time around. So that's why I'm stuck hand steering this boat. That I tried to, like I said in previous video, I tried to get the autopilot, the old autopilot to work and fix it. It was fixed. It worked for 2 weeks before I left, just fine. And it kind of crapped out on me. So that's what's happened. Now, mechanical autopilot, something that's tied to my Genoa, I guess, with some lines that would hold my wheel and pull one side, pull the other. Like, in order for the Genoa to pull on one side, I don't know exactly, you know, there's probably multiple ways to do this, and I know it's been used before, and I have confidence that people have used it successfully before. The reason why I'm not trying to do it is because right now, like, I'm not in a calm bay or anything like that. I'm 600 or 700 miles away from land at this point. And I'm not in a bay that's calm where I can tune this thing well. Oh, I'm missing a pulley here. I need another type of a line. I need to put that line on this angle so that it doesn't rub this place and it comes to the wheel in that fashion. You know, to set all that up here with what I got on board, I mean, if I was more knowledgeable about it, probably that could be done. But I feel it's risky, and I feel one way or another, if the Genoa is going to be supplying the force that's going to control the wheel, then at some point I got to allow the Genoa to go back-winded. And then I got to prevent my main, so my main's going to go to the preventer, the Genoa's going to get back-winded, and it's going to slam one way, slam the other way, and do like this flogging action. I've never seen a mechanical autopilot. I'll say this: I've never seen a mechanical autopilot working. Not because it doesn't work, just because I never had the opportunity to see a boat that was configured that way. I know it's in the books, I know it's doable, I know it probably works. My question is, to what price and why would I want to do that? I have something that works really nice right now. My standing rig is brand new, my running rig is in good state, and my sails are in good state, and I'm making 110 miles a day, which is below what this boat's potential is. This boat has the potential to do 150 miles per day in those kinds of conditions. You see all the time if I have another pilot. Sometimes 160, 170 I've seen, and with the Gulf Stream off my back on the East Coast, I've had a day of 220. I have a solution now that works. You know, I drive the boat 17 hours per day. It's a long day. It's sometimes challenging depending on the wind condition. And then I get 5 to 6 hours of rest. And I wake up in the morning. I'm feeling the strain of this, and I'm worried about how it's going to look like in 10 days. I'm actually worried about that because, you know, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days of this, I know I'll be in a hurry to get home and to stop all of this. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. There's also options for me to get some rest. You know, like if I get a day of very, very light wind, light condition, and I don't get good mileage that day anyway because the wind is not there to push me, that's the day I'm going to take to just sleep 12 hours or sleep 20 hours and get well rested. So that's something I'm looking not forward to because I want to make way and I want to get home, but I want to get to Nukuhiva. But if I get a no-wind day, I'll put it to good use and just get some rest. So I'll just pull my phone out to get the other question people were asking. Okay, so sleeping. So how I sleep. So I said I heave to. So heaving to means putting the boat in a controlled drift by using opposite forces from the head sail and the rudder. So basically you stick the head sail on the upwind side so that it's going to get that wind and push the nose of the boat downwind, and then you put the rudder against that force to make the boat go upwind, and that way the boat establishes itself in a controlled drift of about 1.5 knots. And if you do it properly, in the wind I got right now, I'm actually drifting towards my target, towards the Marquesas. So not a bad deal. While I'm sleeping, I'm gaining 10 miles towards where I want to go. It's not going to always be that way, maybe, depending on wind currents and that kind of stuff. But maybe in the worst case scenario, I'll be losing 10 hours in order to be able to sleep. Or maybe I'll just won't sleep that one day to try to get to a current that's positive and that's pushing me towards the target. We'll see how that plays out. The other thing I do in order to be safe is I have my AIS transmitter that's transmitting my position. But also before I get to sleep, I just take a quick look at my Predict Wind app that has Predict Wind has this AIS data tab, and you look at that and it downloads through the internet all of the boats that are transmitting on AIS around you that have, I guess, satellite capability. So if the boat doesn't have a satellite AIS enabled, then it should have a normal AIS transmitter, and if it comes close to me, it should trigger my alarm in my boat to wake me up. And because I'm transmitting, he should receive that thing on that transmission on AIS also, and he should be able to maneuver to avoid me at that point, or at least call me on the radio or something like that, if he's not able to maneuver. Because I leave the radio on. Now, what if a boat doesn't have AIS? Well, if a boat doesn't have AIS, at least receiving AIS capability, I say, I'm of the opinion, and it's an opinion, it's not a law, it should be a law as far as I'm concerned. It's not a law, but I think that any boat that goes offshore so far away from land like that should have at least receiving capability of AIS, or or ideally receiving and transmitting. So an AIS receiver can be a normal VHF radio that costs $300. So if you're going to cross the ocean, I mean, my new autopilot was $3,000, 3,700 Canadian dollars. So I mean, for $300 Canadian or whatever that is in the US, it's you know, you get a really better picture of what's the state of the boating traffic around you, and I feel it increased the safety. So since I left Mexico, I haven't had a day of fog, obviously. So that's tropical, right? Of course, if you live in Maine or in BC or someplace like that that has fog on a more regular basis, Newfoundland, then a radar becomes really handy. But if you're going to navigate in the tropics like me, there's no fog now. Like I have 25 miles of unrestricted visibility around me. The radar would play no role whatsoever at this point compared to an AIS. Now you're going to say, of course, the radar would see a boat that doesn't have, could see a boat that doesn't have AIS if it's on, and if somebody manages properly to not hit the waves and the echoes. And I've worked with radar, not a lot in my life, I'll admit, but I had a radar when I crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and I find that if you're not attending to the radar and playing with the gain setting and the antenna angle and all that kind of stuff, it becomes like a false alarm generator. You know? Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So I drive the boat about 17 hours a day, like I said before. I take about 6 hours of sleep. I'm eating dehydrated food packs that I bought in La Cruz de Buena Textil from a lady whose name is Dee Christensen. The business is called Simply Fresh. And I'm very happy with how the meals are tasting so far. I feel it's very nutritive and it's actually kind of healthier eating than what you normally do if you're going to a restaurant often and you're drinking alcohol a lot. It's rocky. The waves or the wind is picking up, so that's good. Yeah, so I think if you go offshore, you should have some dehydrated food packs on board because it's so convenient. Like right now, I'm eating these things cold, so I just have a spoon. I put it in a bowl. I put some water on top of it, and I eat. I don't need to cook. I don't need to handle a knife. I don't need to start a fire right now. And right now, with the kind of sea condition I'm in, where I have to drive the boat constantly, I don't want to have my stove going in the boat and risk the boat catching on fire. So I'm eating those things cold, and it's sustaining me. I don't have to cook. I don't have to work hard to prepare it because Kiki's done all that for me in La Cruz. And yeah, and I would feel confident and safe right now if I had to cook. If I had to handle a knife right now in those kinds of ways with, you know, if I'm home too, yeah, but then I need to stop to sleep, but stop to prepare my meal, do the dishes, and cook and eat. And so that would be more delay. So the dehydrated food packs are very useful. It also makes provisioning super easy because I know I have 45 days of supply just on DD's supply, and I have some old packs from previous crossings. So I probably have 65 days of food on board without a problem. And for water, like I said in the previous video, like I have the water maker. I have 130 gallons in my tank and about 45 to 50 days of bottled water supply. So that's a huge component of what makes me feel safe to carry on with this crossing, even though I don't have an autopilot right now, because I'm set up in a way where I can survive here for quite a long time. See no stars lately. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of clouds. It's very, very cloudy. They're asking me, like, do I have seat cushions, or I'm sitting on hardwood, and I don't know, I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me at all. Normally I don't do so much driving, so I'll be like laying out on the settee inside, or I'll be on the bench on the side there, and I'll lay down, so I'll be more comfortable. And I kind of have some tension in my back from being like always here driving the boat. But I find that I get a lot of sort of not pain, but I feel it a lot when I go to bed, and then when I wake up in the morning, I feel actually pretty rested. I don't know how long that's gonna last. Like energy-wise, I'm kind of worried because it's been fine for the last 3 days. Sorry, it's been fine for the last 3 days, but I have at least 20 other days of this. So since 3 days in the bank, 20 days to go. We'll see how that all works out. I might have to, shut out for a day or two and try to reset. Oh yeah, batteries and Starlink and all that. So I have 400 amps of house battery, lithium house battery. I have 770 watts of solar installed. And I have a hydro generator that produces about 200 watts when I do 6 knots. So yesterday or the day before, I saw an occurrence where I was producing 800 watts total. So that's a huge amount of power. It's sufficient. It's been sufficient so far that I didn't need to run my alternator at all. Like I never needed to start my motor since I left Puerto Vallarta. The whole boat system, everything, including my inverter that runs Starlink, just don't need any aid from an alternator right now. Now it's very cloudy today, so that's kind of worrisome because am I going to get enough sun today that it's going to charge the battery? The hydrogen is good to just keep the boat energy neutral with the boat system. Now that's not the water maker, that's not the Starlink. So that needs solar in order to stay ahead of the power consumption curve here. One simple solution is that if I run short of power, I'll just load shed the Starlink. Like it's kind of, I'll use it for an hour or two, give a brief update to my people that are tracking me on land, and then not use it. There's a lot of times where I could shut off the Starlink antenna and it would actually help a lot in terms of power consumption. Now the last thing I'd want to shed would be like the two VHF radio, like my one normal VHF radio that I talk on 16 on, and the AIS, which is also VHF. I don't want to shut that out. Now, but I won't need to because that's like nothing. And yeah. So that's that in terms of the power management. Like the boat is set up that way, like it's got a lot of autonomy in terms of the electrical power. Oh, what am I going to do when I get to the Marquesas? That's a good one. That's a good question. What am I going to do? I'm going to sleep. I'm going to rest. And I don't have a single tattoo on me, but I think I'm getting a Polynesian tattoo when I get to Cuba. We'll see how it goes, but I think I'm gonna do this because this ride's gonna be worth the bath, I feel. So that's about it. A bit of a longer update today. If you guys have questions, if you have more questions, just send them to me either on Facebook or put them in the comment in the YouTube videos, and I'll try to answer them tomorrow. Have a good day.